Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to customize a PM and a PR. I'm taking an example of account form applet here, and the case is when I set the status of this account to inactive, I want to hide the account type field. So for this, let's start writing the PM. So to this PM, I'm adding an extra property. This is as good as you're setting a profile attribute or something from the JavaScript side. I have created, I'm adding a property, hide field. I'm just giving this name and I'm giving it a default value of null. I'm going to use this property to identify a Boolean condition, whether the when to hide the field or when to show it. So after this, I'm going to add a method. So we are doing the action on field change. So on field change, I'm calling a function. I will write a JavaScript function here, field change. So this line will override the field change, vanilla field change event. If you are not sure which method to extend, which function to extend, go into the presentation model.js, pmodel.js file, look for all the methods, check for the method that gets executed when your action is going on. Put a breakpoint and check. So along with these two input arguments, I'm going to give a extra input argument sequence. I'm setting the sequence to false. I'm giving the scope to this. Now the sequence is I'm not uh, executing this function in the sequence. That's fine for me. Scope will actually define the scope of the this function here. I'll give you an example why the scope is used. Let me write this function and see what happens when the function is executed. Function field change. So on field change function has two variables, control and value. These variables can be identified from looking into a presentation model.js file, or you can refer the bookshelf for the available functions that you can extend, add. So on field change, um, I'm doing an alert of the value of the function, value of the field. So I've saved the file. I have added this particular PM and PR files to this applet as a account form applet in manifest administration. And after saving it, I'm doing a hard reload. So I'm going to check in the developer tools whether my file is loaded and my function is getting executed or not. So my applet is loaded, and in developer tools I see that my file is also loaded. So let me change a field value. So it is taking me to this. I have set a breakpoint here, bullet. So you can set a breakpoint, and once I execute this, it gives me the field value as alert. So whenever I set a field value, I'm able to capture the field value here in my added function. So on this, I'm going to write add extra conditions and check whether the field value is inactive and the field name is the control name is status. And on that I'm going to set a value to our property. So I'm going to inactivate this alert. I'm going to write extra line saying just declaring a variable, just so that I can set a breakpoint. Now what I am doing is I will break on this line, and at the same moment I'm going to write the code in console in runtime. So I have my code here. I'm just breaking it here so that it stops in this function. It is in the functions instance. So on field change, it is going to this function. Now I am in this function scope. That is what the scope that we declared here. And in this function, we are setting the scope as this. This means this file, which is nothing but our PM. If I don't declare the scope, this here, you will not be able to access the PM or PM functions in this function in the extended function. So I'm in the current instance. So if I check this, it will give me my presentation model. It will give me all the functions that are available to this presentation model. So what I'll say is this dot get. I'm uh, getting the controls available from the PM. So this dot get controls. What are the variables? What are the functions that you can get from the PM? You can look at the vanilla presentation model.js. You can look at um, bookshelf also. I have made a blog post about this, and I have the screenshots of what variables, what objects can be obtained from the PM file. You can find the link to the blog in description of this video. So I'm getting the controls here. Now I want to check for the status. Mm, these are the control names that you declare in your tools, application tools. So I'm going to select the field account status. So this is my field. So what I'll say is this dot get controls of account status. So I'm setting it into a variable. I will set it into say control variable. So control variable will have all the fields available here. So this is the applet control. So what you can do for this can be found here. If you expand it, these are all the functions that can be called for this. So I'm going to call a function to identify the value of the name of the field. So get input name, get input name. It gives me the name of the control HTML element. So I can get the input name, and along with the input name, I can use this input name to hide the control. You can get more values, more details about the control, which field it is using, the field, the default method, the display name of the field, that is the status, get display name. I can show you how to call it, get display name. This is status that we see in the UI, the status field. So this is where the scope comes in. So we can pass on the scope of the PM to the other functions so that it can be reused. I have the active control which I have set, so it gets me the control name. So in this instance, once I pause here and go to console, I will give the control name dot. I can use a function to get the name of the field that is shown. I will use the get display name function account class. So this function gives me the account class. I mean the name of the control in the UI. So I'm going to write it here. If the controls display name is status, and value that you are setting is inactive, I'm going to inactive this also. So I have added this property. So I'm going to set this property here. This dot set property hide field to yes. So I have set a property value based on the status of this. So once I set this value, I have to hide the control. So to show or hide, we have to go back to our renderer and attach our PM's property to this. So I'm in the init method. I'm going to add attach PM binding. These are all vanilla functions that can be found in Bookshelf. What it does is you set some bind function in the PM, and that gets binded to the PR. So you do an action in the PM and that gets carry forwarded to the PR. So this is my property. So on this property, change, I'm calling another function hide fields. Now I'm going to write the function here, function hide fields. So in this case, I'll say I'm going to identify the control and hide it. So let me just add a dummy line here so that I can break at this point at this scope instance and write my code. I'm going to reload this. My script uh, gets reloaded. So here we are, and this is my script. I'm going to do a check. If I set the status to inactive, the property is getting set, and uh, it is calling the PR and calling the custom function in the PR also. So I'm going to set its value to inactive. Okay, we didn't give the double equal to, so it gave me an error. Let me change it and reload the application. So I'm setting it again to inactive and see whether my function is getting called. So I see that control is status and the value is inactive. It is going to this line to the my breakpoint. It is setting the value, coming here for the binding event, and it came to this PR function. So in PR function, I'm going to identify the control that I'm going to hide, and I'm going to hide it. So let me show you how I'm going to hide the control. So this is just a plain JavaScript hide. I'm going to inspect this element, and I'm going to take the ID of the element, and to hide an element in JavaScript we can just say dot with ID use the hash key dot hide. So it hides the element. You see that the label is gone here. So this is the line that I need to execute on this condition. So I'll check it. I'll copy paste it in my PR. So I'm hiding the control name, and I'm hiding the control input text. So this input text can be identified with using any variable like this. So we can use this to hide the control, or if you are not sure how to hide the input, we can get the control and the control's input name, like how I did earlier. So we can get the name of the input text and hide it, this name, s underscore to underscore. This can be obtained from control.getInputName function that I have shown in this video earlier. So I'm going to use the label area labeled by, and I'm going to use it like this. I'm going to test it right away in jQuery. So this is the input text. Now it is hidden. Uh, but it still gives me the arrow. So what I'll do is I'll hide its parent div. So instead of saying hide, I will say parent dot hide, so that it hides the whole element. If you look at the element here, this is getting hidden. This is display none, but the extra icon for the drop down is not getting hidden. So instead of hiding this, I'll hide its parent, and this will solve our issue. Again, you see that the star is still present. This is the same case as we have hidden the control name but not the extra icon that is coming. So here also I'm going to hide the parent. So I'm going to copy this line to my PR file and say parent.hide, parent.hide. So my PM and PR are ready. I'm removing all the breakpoints. Let me test it out in real time. So now let me reset it to some value, and while setting it to inactive, it hides the fields immediately. You can see the code working here. So this is how we are going to write the PM and PR. We I practice this approach where I declare a dummy variable, set the breakpoint, run all the code in your console, in your browser console, and execute the code here. See that it is working like how I did earlier. I have hidden the elements in console, in real time runtime. I'm getting the control values, control display names, and everything in real time here in console. So console is a great tool to use for our real-time testing and for getting variables, for accessing everything that is present in your present browser window. I have made another video about how to use the developer tools, Chrome developer tools. You can check that if you are interested. Now, our code is working for only field change. So we have extended only the field change event, and it is working only for field change, and on field change to something else I didn't write the else condition. So we have to on function hide, we have to get the field, get the variable that you are setting. Okay, this dot get property. If hide is set to y, hide the fields, else show them. The same hide you copy the same code and instead of hide you say show. So my code is ready for the else condition also, and also I want to do the same thing for field change. I have an inactive account in, let's say, third record, and when I navigate to the third record I want to hide the account mm, accounts class field. So for that to happen, on field change also I have to check whether my current record has status inactive and show or hide it based on the condition. So I'm going to I have to add another method, this dot add method selection change or show selection. So this the syntax and the usage of this function can be found in bookshelf. So here I have this example of working this in a field change event. So on field change I'm adding a property, I'm setting the property value, and on the property value condition I'm conditionally hiding or showing the field. So I hope this helped you in understanding how to write PM and PR. I'm going to give more examples.